Start off by getting your reaction to Man City's impressive 5-2 victory over Juventus in their final Group G fixture at the FIFA Club World Cup. City have preserved their perfect start, 3 wins out of three, and they secured top spot in the group thanks to that statement win over the Italian giants. City had two new signings in their starting lineup, Rayan Ait-Nouri and Tiani Reinders. Rodri was handed a surprise start for the first time in over 9 months since recovering from that long-term knee injury. And we had four different Man City scorers and an own goal as well in that match. Jeremy Doku, Erling Haaland, Phil Foden, and Savinho all on the score sheet in that win. So there were a plethora of positives really to take from that game, Stephen, from that result. What impressed you most about that? What were the key things that you've taken away from that game against Juventus?
Yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm very aware of the maybe the need not to get too carried away, based off where City are at and Juventus not being at the very best and so on. But it was the first time I'd looked at City for a long time and really, really, truly enjoyed the football. It was vastly different from the Manchester City for the past 18 to 24 months, I would say. The more direct, vertical style, very PSG inspired, was fully on show. There was so much more dynamism. And it made me realise that this squad sort of got a bit of everything now. No, there's still some areas that you could arguably improve, but there's so many different ways to get at size. There's so many different options for City to play, and I felt the whole performance was one of joy, one of cohesion and chemistry and ideas, and no little skill as well. And the new signings, in particular, Reinders and Ait-Nouri were a massive part of that. But it wasn't just them. I mean, everyone stepped up and everyone played their part in a performance that was incredibly complete. Look, I know Juventus aren't quite the powerful Juventus of past, but they're there on merit and one of the best teams in Italian football. And City had 76% possession against them. It was utter domination with 24 shots, five big chances to their two. And ultimately we gave them one of the goals. The other goal was nice. But City, that could have been 6 or 7 goals quite easily. And it wouldn't have been flattering for Manchester City. Yeah, a remarkable performance. And the thing I loved about it was just the little patterns all over the pitch and the little link ups, which have been sort of missing for an awful long time, I would say.
Yeah, and it's nice to see maybe one positive as well was sort of the link up between Jeremy Doku and Ait-Nouri on that left hand side. What do you make of those two playing well together?
Yeah, fantastic. I think Doku. I mean, he gets a lot of criticism for a lack of end products, and some of it's justified at times. But if you go back and watch how often he gets the ball, and he's sort of tasked with just give the ball and it's like, do something, Jeremy, do something. And he gets the ball out wide, and he's tasked with beating 3 or 4 people basically, often about 2 or 3, and then trying to find someone in a very packed box. And often the issue we've got is that City move the ball up the pitch so slowly, usually. And by the time Doku gets the ball on the left, the area is absolutely packed full of defenders. There's genuinely no space whatsoever. You've got several, if not more, defenders in that box, and he's got to beat 2 or 3 of them, then just try and find someone. And we don't even fill the box ourselves. It's usually just 2 or 3 forwards with Haaland in there waiting at the back post, and he's asked to do an awful lot. The difference here is finally, he had with Ait-Nouri alongside him, he had someone who's very willing to offer alternatives. He's very willing to go wide and beat his man, which he did, completing both of his crosses for what it's worth, and completing every single pass, which is remarkable as well. And use his skill and pace to also invert as well. And if he'll drive through the middle, Doku will go wide, and vice versa. We've not had anyone do that in Manchester City for an awful long time, and Doku looked absolutely delighted to have that support. And the amount of times he got the ball and the defense wasn't fully set because City moved the ball further forward quickly was great. I mean, this means there was space for him to move into, and it was not more evident than his goal, where Ait-Nouri, the ball worked towards him in a sort of inside left channel just outside the area. And he played delightful reverse through ball to Doku, which you never see him get on the end of those passes because no one makes them, and he's not been tasked to sort of drift inside and do that. And his first touch was great, and second touch even better into the bottom corner. And I love seeing that. That's 2 goals in this tournament so far. The other one just attacking the back post from a corner. And it's not something we've seen a lot of Doku because he's normally just hugging that touchline, but playing as a sort of inside forward, using that technical ability, he's got that devastating, incredibly unique dribbling skill set, and finding a partnership with someone. it makes it so refreshing to watch. And it wasn't even just him. There's partnerships all over the pitch. Nunes, bombing forward. Ryan just picking him out, of course, for the goal for. Was he? I don't know who played him for both of them, but one of them where Ryan just picked him out, and it was either the own goal or the tapping for Haaland. It might be the Haaland tapping.
I think it was, yeah.
It was the Haaland one, but there was the other one, of course, when Nunes got really forward as well and crossed it for the own goal, the comical own goal. But either way, there was partnerships all over the pitch. Rodri and Reinders was working really nicely together. Bernardo was dovetailing nicely with Nunes when he went forward. Yeah, it was just then, of course, when Foden came on and Haaland came on with Shirky, they all worked really well together as well. The movement, it was just a very complete performance, and a lot of the players showed that they're really buying into this new style. And Guardiola as well has talked an awful lot about how he's taken a lot from the new coaches in Pep Linders, James French and Colo Torre. They're all challenging each other. They're all giving new ideas, and the football was just vastly different. The press was aggressive. The team was creative and full of joy and vibrancy, and there's 1-2s and give and goes, and Reinders bursting through midfield so comfortably, or just pinging the passes out wide to on rushing runners. And Savinho, I didn't mention him, goal and assist for him as well. Great link up play with the rest of the side. It just worked, and it was so much more expressive and vibrant. And yeah, it was great to witness.
Yeah, and you mentioned there Savinho. He's received a lot of praise from Guardiola recently. He said he's has all the attributes to become an extraordinary player for Man City. He seems to be one in particular really that Guardiola really likes and has a lot of, you're really excited by what he could become at City. What are your thoughts on him and, your thoughts for him heading into the new season?
Yeah, I share it. I think Savinho is a fantastic footballer who's on the precipice of being a world-class footballer. I think Guardiola will love him because of his honesty as a footballer. He's incredibly hardworking. He's diligent. He's fearless as well. He will always get the ball. He will always run at his man. And unlike most, wingers, there's a tendency to have the head down a little bit. But Savinho does play with his head up. He's always looking for the pass. He's always looking for teammates in better position for him. As Guardiola said though in the press conference last night, he just needs to add goals and assist to a more regular level. He didn't exactly let himself down last season in terms of creating chances. He had the most assists of any City player in the league. I think it was 8 in the league, and I think there was times where he was probably denied a few more by poor finishing. So Savinho clearly is a natural creator already, but he definitely has to be better in front of goal. Guardiola, implied that if he unlocks it, and he said and he will, and I think he will too, then we've got a special player. He doesn't need to score 20 goals a season to be great. I think Savinho could quite easily add 25 to 30 goal contributions, probably pushing towards maybe 15, 16, 17 assists and 10, 12 goals, something like that. But that is, a really good output for someone. And I think it's very attainable for Savinho. And I think he's more than capable. We saw 10, 11 goals for Girona in La Liga, which is obviously an incredibly elite league. And he only got a handful last season, but I think he's more than capable of tripling those numbers this year in terms of goal output. And look, if he's going to finish like that with his right foot as well from 20 yards, he's going to go very far. But yeah, a very honest player, very likable player, very direct, very skillful, very hardworking, and very versatile. I think Guardiola is very right to point out just how young he is as well, and just how much talent he's got.
Yeah, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. Sure, we'll see a lot more of him for City next season, 25, 26. Now, it's well known that, in tournament football, it's important to peak at the right time, and City have, of course, impressed at the group stage. You think City can maintain this and, continue with this form going into the latter stages, bearing in mind that Guardiola is keen to continue this rotation with his team?
Yeah, I think they can. I think Guardiola has chosen the sides intentionally in the first game and the second game. They were vastly different sides. They were the idea of being get the minutes in the legs, and then see who's buying into the new ideas, see who's responding well to the training sessions, and then pick something that would do the job against Juventus. And then of course bring in some players in the second half due to the substitutions that are necessary given the heat and the tiredness and the varying levels of fitness. But yeah, I think we are peaking at the right time because I think it's been planned that way. The players are, learning the new ideas. They're having an awful lot of fun out there as well. Like the general vibes at the training camp, based off the behind the scenes footage and that we're getting access to as fans, they seem immaculate. Like they seem incredibly happy to be there, and they're enjoying themselves, and the chemistry is really good while also working really hard. And I think it's in general for what it's worth. Like I think elite players, they love to be worked incredibly hard. I think as long as they're enjoying themselves on the training pitch and it's fun, they'll train for hours and hours and hours. And the suggestions that the training sessions are double the intensity of last season. They're so much more um, uh, motivational as well. It's not like they're just working harder; they're working harder, but having more fun. Like this constant reinforcement, constant back and forth between the players and the coaches, and I think they're reacting well to it because I think last season stung them, and as a result, you get the performance against Juventus. I don't think it'll let up. I think this is City finding their confidence, and as Guardiola said once again, like the only way to get back to winning regularly is to feel that success, and be on the pitch and experience what it feels to be a good football side. And I think we're well placed, going into this game against Al Hilal and the potential ties after that to leave an incredibly lasting impression in this competition. Who knows how far we'll go, but could even win it.